It might surprise you, but something as tiny as a chia seed can hold more power over your blood sugar and digestion than a whole cabinet full of pills. Folks look at those little specks and think they're just for birds or trendy health bloggers, but I've seen them turn sluggish mornings into days where I actually felt light on my feet. When I was younger, nobody in my family even mentioned chia, but today I thank the Lord that I gave it a try, because the way it steadies your sugar and soothes the gut is nothing short of remarkable. Imagine a pantry item so small, yet able to pull sugar out of the fast lane and guide it gently where your body needs it, without the wild roller coaster crashes many of us over 60 know too well. Sometimes God hides big blessings in small packages, and chia might be one of those blessings for seniors who just want to enjoy a calm stomach and steady energy to play with their grandkids or go fishing on a Saturday morning. Have you ever wondered how something so small can carry so much life inside it? Stick around, because you're about to see chia in a whole new light, and maybe, just maybe, it'll change the way you start your mornings. Now, before we get carried away, let's talk about why chia is more than just another superfood headline. These little seeds hold fiber that works like a broom for the gut, sweeping away what shouldn't linger too long and slowing down how sugar hits the bloodstream. I ain't no doctor, but I know what it feels like when your stomach finally stops nagging you and your sugar doesn't dip and spike like a carnival ride. You get more steady days, more peace at the dinner table, and even a little more confidence when you sit down for family prayer, knowing you've taken one small step to care for the body God gave you. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through 5 simple chia hacks that any of us can use without breaking the bank. No fancy supplements or complicated recipes. Just everyday ideas that make a big difference, especially for folks like us in our golden years. So pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and let's see how these 5 chia hacks can make life after 60 a little sweeter, without the sugar spikes. If you find this helpful, give the video a little thumbs up and share it with a friend who could use a bit of hope today. And tell me in the comments, have you ever tried chia seed before, or will this be your first time? Number 5, chia pudding at night. The first time I tried making chia pudding, I thought it looked like something out of a science project. Those little seeds swell up and turn into a soft gel, almost like tapioca, only lighter. I remember leaving a small jar in the fridge overnight, and the next morning, I couldn't believe how satisfying it felt without weighing me down. It was creamy, a little nutty, and it kept my stomach calm well into lunchtime. For someone who used to wake up with his sugar already jumping around, that slow release of energy felt like a gift. Funny how something so simple, milk, seeds, maybe a touch of cinnamon, can feel like a gentle hand guiding your body toward balance. God sure knew what he was doing when he put so much goodness in something so tiny. Back in the old days, my family believed breakfast had to be heavy. Biscuits, sausage, eggs dripping with butter. And while I still enjoy those on a Sunday, during the week, that kind of start makes me sluggish. With chia pudding, though, it's like my engine runs cleaner. I don't hit that crash mid-morning when I'm trying to read the paper or take a walk around the block. It almost feels like when you switch from an old dusty furnace to a new one that burns steady and even same house, but a whole lot more comfortable. I thank the Lord for showing me that breakfast doesn't always have to feel like a challenge. Now, there's a little trick to it that makes all the difference. If you soak chia seeds overnight in milk or almond milk, they plump up and form that pudding-like texture. Add a sprinkle of cinnamon or a few berries, and you've got yourself a dessert that doubles as medicine. Cinnamon helps with blood sugar too, so it's like pairing 2 cowboys that ride together to keep the town safe. My granddaughter laughs when I tell her my pudding is sweeter justice for my sugar, but the truth is, I've seen my glucose readings calm down after making this a habit. It's not magic. It's just nature doing what it's meant to do. There's also something comforting about the ritual of it. At night, when the house gets quiet, I mix up my little jar, chia, milk, cinnamon, and place it in the fridge. It feels like tucking a blessing away for tomorrow. In the morning, while the coffee brews, I open that jar, and it's like unwrapping a small present. I've had mornings where I stopped and whispered, "Thank you, Lord," because my body felt at peace instead of in rebellion. For seniors like us, those calm mornings are worth more than gold. And I'll tell you this, I never thought something as humble as a seed could stand shoulder to shoulder with all the big-name health foods out there. But every time I dip my spoon into that pudding, I'm reminded that sometimes answers don't come in expensive bottles or complicated diets. They come in jars in your own fridge, waiting patiently for you to discover them. Since starting this simple hack, even my knees don't nag me as much on morning walks. And to think, I almost overlooked chia pudding just because it looked strange. Number 4, chia water before meals. The first time I heard someone talk about chia water, I laughed and thought, now that's just bird food floating in a glass. But I gave a shot, 1 tablespoon of chia in a tall glass of water, stirred and left for a few minutes until it turned into a light gel. I drank it before lunch, and to my surprise, I didn't feel that desperate hunger that usually made me pile my plate too high. It's almost like the seeds whisper to your stomach, take it easy, there's plenty here. For folks like us who've seen our appetites sometimes work against us, that little cushion between water and seeds can be the difference between steady sugar and an afternoon slump. I never expected a glass of water, with tiny specks floating in it, to change the way I look at my meals. In my younger days, meals were big events, and often we ate until our belts complained. These days, I've learned to listen to my body instead of just tradition. With chia water, I find I'm satisfied with less, and my sugar doesn't spike up like it used to when I cleared every plate. It reminds me of when I learned to drive slower on wet country roads. You still get where you're going, but you do it safer. That's what chia water does for me at the table. It helps me enjoy the meal without the crashes and regret afterward. One curious thing about chia water is how it's been used for centuries by people who worked long days in the fields or deserts. They didn't have energy drinks or fancy powders. They had chia and water to keep them strong and steady. Knowing that, I feel connected to generations before me who trusted the land and the simple gifts God placed in it. Every sip reminds me that good health doesn't always come from new inventions. Sometimes it comes from rediscovering old wisdom we nearly forgot. Making chia water is as easy as it gets. I usually keep a small jar of pre-soaked chia in the fridge, ready to spoon into a glass. Sometimes I add a squeeze of lemon or a dash of apple cider vinegar for taste, and it feels like I'm drinking something that's both refreshing and healing. My wife says it looks funny, but she's the first to admit she feels lighter after sipping it with me. It has become part of our mealtime rhythm, almost like saying grace, something small, but it sets the tone for what's ahead. I never thought a simple glass of water could feel like a shield for my body, but that's exactly how I see it now. Chia water doesn't just fill the stomach. It slows things down so my sugar doesn't run wild, and my digestion feels calmer. Just knowing I've got that little trick up my sleeve makes me more confident when I sit down to a family dinner. And to think, I almost dismissed it as nothing more than bird food in a glass. Sometimes the Lord hides answers in places we least expect, and it's up to us to give them a fair chance. Number 3, chia in morning oatmeal. The smell of warm oatmeal always takes me back to winter mornings when my mama stirred a big pot on the stove, steam fogging up the kitchen windows. These days, I've kept that tradition, but I've given it a little upgrade. 1 spoonful of chia seeds stirred right in. They swell up as the oats cook, adding a slight crunch and a smooth texture all at once. What surprises me most is how that little addition keeps me steady well past breakfast. Instead of feeling my sugar drop by mid-morning, I stay calm and focused, almost like the oats and chia are working hand in hand to carry me through. For someone in their 60s or 70s, that kind of steady fuel feels like a blessing straight from the Lord. It's funny, my grandson once asked me why I put fish food in my oatmeal. I had to laugh. But then I explained to him that these little seeds hold a kind of fiber that helps both the belly and the sugar stay in line. He shook his head like kids do, but later he admitted he liked the way it made the oatmeal thicker, almost like pudding. That small moment reminded me how health habits can be passed down, just like recipes or prayers before meals. We don't always need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes we just need to season it differently. Adding chia to oatmeal is one of the easiest changes I've ever made. No fancy recipes, no extra pans. Just sprinkle them in while stirring. Sometimes I mix in apples or raisins, maybe a touch of nutmeg, and suddenly breakfast tastes like fall at my grandmother's farm. The The seeds don't change the flavor much, but they change how I feel afterward. No heaviness, no bloating, no sharp crashes, just a quiet kind of strength that makes a morning walk more enjoyable. It's almost like putting a soft cushion under your day. Historically, oats have been the farmer's breakfast, giving strength for long days in the fields. When I add chia to that, I feel like I'm layering two time-tested foods that supported generations before me. Neither of them is expensive, neither of them flashy, but together they provide something our bodies still crave. Steady, simple energy. It makes me think of how old hymns never lose their power. You can dress them up with guitars or keep them playing on a piano, but their strength endures. Chia and oatmeal feels the same way, timeless, steady, and dependable. I've come to see my bowl of oatmeal with chia as more than just food. It's a morning prayer in a bowl, a reminder that caring for Body God gave me can be both simple and joyful. And the best part is, it's not just helping me. I've seen my wife's digestion ease and her afternoons brighten since we started sharing this routine. Looking back, I'm amazed that for years I ate oats without ever knowing chia could make them even better. It's like finding a missing piece of a puzzle that was sitting right in front of me all along. Number 2, chia smoothies for energy. If the blender could talk, it would probably laugh at how many experiments I've tried over the years. Some good, some not so much. But one thing that stuck was tossing in a spoonful of chia seeds whenever I make a smoothie. At first, it felt strange, watching the seeds swirl around the bananas, berries, and a splash of milk. But when I drank it, I noticed something different. My stomach stayed calm, and I didn't feel like reaching for cookies an hour later. For me, that's a big win, because those sugar dips always used to send me scavenging through pantry. Chia makes a smoothie feel thicker, almost like a milkshake, but instead of regret, it leaves me steady and satisfied. There's a joy in playing with flavors, too. Sometimes I add spinach for extra greens, sometimes peanut butter for richness, and the chia blends right in every time. It reminds me of those old workhorses on my uncle's farm. They didn't stand out, but they carried the load day after day without complaint. That's chia in my smoothie. Quiet, dependable, making sure the ride is smooth. And for those of us trying to keep our sugar steady, it's like having a steady hand on the reins instead of letting the horses run wild. I've also learned that blending chia helps avoid the texture some folks don't like. Instead of swollen seeds, the blender breaks them into the drink, so it feels silky. My wife, who was hesitant at first, now says it makes the smoothie taste fuller, like it belongs there. She even jokes that it's our senior energy drink, and I suppose she's right. Unlike those neon-colored bottles at the store, this one doesn't leave me jittery or regretful. Just calm energy that carries me through gardening, walking the dog, or even singing at church without feeling drained. It's worth remembering that smoothies are not just for summer. On cold mornings, I sometimes blend chia with warm milk, cinnamon, and a banana. It feels like drinking comfort straight from a cup. Other days, I freeze berries and toss them in for a frosty drink after yard work. Each sip feels like a small reminder that health doesn't have to be boring or bland. The variety keeps it fun, and the chia keeps it steady. Looking back, I'm grateful I didn't dismiss smoothies as just for young folks. Chia gave me a way to make them work for me at this age, with my needs in mind. They don't just taste good, they help me stay balanced, focused, and light on my feet. Sometimes the biggest change isn't what we add to our diet, but in what those small changes do to our everyday lives. And every time I sip one, I think about how God places strength even in the smallest seeds, just waiting for us to notice. Number 1, chia as a baking swap. The smell of fresh cornbread coming out of the oven always takes me back to Sunday afternoons in my mother's kitchen. These days, though, I've learned a trick that lets me enjoy baked goods without feeling guilty about my sugar. Swapping eggs or oil with chia gel. Just 1 tablespoon of chia mixed with water forms a thick gel that works like glue in recipes. I first tried it in banana bread, and I couldn't believe how moist it turned out. And best of all, it didn't send my sugar soaring. For someone who grew up loving homemade treats, finding a way to keep them on the table without the sugar spikes feels like a blessing. It's like the Lord handed us a way to hold on to tradition while still caring for the body He gave us. Funny enough, the first time I served chia banana bread to my family, I didn't tell them. My grandson gobbled it down, said it was the best yet, and only then did I share the secret. He wrinkled his nose at the idea of seeds and bread, but he couldn't deny the taste. It reminded me that sometimes we resist things just because they're new, not because they don't work. Seeing the smile on his face, I knew I'd found a way to make family favorites healthier without taking away the joy. The beauty of chia in baking is that it doesn't steal the spotlight. It doesn't taste strong or overpowering. It just quietly does its job, holding the batter together and keeping it moist. I've tried it in pancakes, muffins, and even meatloaf as a binder. Each time, the results surprised me, not because they tasted different, but because they tasted exactly the same, only with a little less guilt on my shoulders. It's like having a silent helper in the kitchen, making sure everything comes out right. And here's a little curiosity. Long before health stores made chia famous, ancient peoples used it in cooking for stamina. They might not have known about blood sugar levels, but they knew it gave steady strength for long journeys. When I stir chia gel into a recipe, I feel connected to that same wisdom, like I'm not just cooking for taste but for life itself. It's humbling to think about how generations before us leaned on the same seeds I keep in a jar in my pantry. I never thought baking could become part of my health routine, but chia made it possible. Instead of saying goodbye to old recipes, I've found ways to keep them alive in a way that doesn't hurt my body. That means more family gatherings with warm bread on the table, more mornings with pancakes, and fewer worries about what comes after. To me, that's more than cooking. It's keeping traditions alive while making them kinder to my body. And every time I pull a golden loaf in the oven, I whisper a quiet, "Thank you, Lord," for small seeds that make big differences. When I look back at all the little ways chia has slipped into my life, I realize it's not about chasing some miracle cure, but about finding steady helpers in everyday habits. A spoon in pudding, a sprinkle in oatmeal, a swirl in water, a blend in smoothies, or even hidden in bread. Each one has made life after 60 a little calmer, a little steadier. It reminds me that God often places answers right in front of us, but it takes open eyes and a willing heart to see them. These seeds may be tiny, but their impact has been anything but small, especially for keeping sugar steady and giving my gut the peace it longed for. There's also comfort in knowing that these hacks aren't complicated or expensive. They don't require fancy equipment or trips to specialty stores. They fit into the rhythms of daily life, whether you're in a quiet farmhouse kitchen or a busy apartment in the city. I've always believed that caring for ourselves shouldn't feel like punishment, and chia has shown me that healthy changes can feel just as warm and joyful as a family meal or a morning walk. When I stir them into my oatmeal, it feels like a small prayer of gratitude, a reminder to use wisely what the Lord has already given us. I also want to say this. While chia has been a blessing for me, every body is different. If you're thinking of adding it into your routine, it's always wise to check with your doctor or a health professional, especially if you've got conditions or medications to consider. I'm no doctor, just a man sharing what's worked in his own life. I'd never trade medical advice for a YouTube video, but I do believe stories like ours can spark hope and curiosity to make healthier choices. Sometimes the best first step is just asking the right questions. So I ask you now, friend, which one of these chia hacks are you most excited to try first? Maybe it's the pudding, maybe the water, or maybe you'll sneak it into your baking like I did. Share in the comments, because I'd love to hear your story too. Who knows? Your experience might encourage someone else who's still on the fence. Health is a journey best walked together, and every small testimony counts. At the end of the day, I'm grateful for the strength to share this message and for the chance to keep learning even after 60. Life doesn't stop teaching us, and God doesn't stop blessing us with small gifts, sometimes as small as a seed. So take care of yourselves, enjoy the journey, and may the Lord bless you with steady days, peaceful nights, and the joy of good health.